looked down, saw Avram.
Welcome to TORAH Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of TORAH Talk Weekly Parsha with Rabbi Manish Friedman from Chabad.org. Thank you, Rabbi, for joining us again this week. Always a pleasure to have you here, and can't wait to see what kind of fun discussions we can get into. Really enjoyed your presence here last week, 2 weeks ago, for Parshat Noach. It apparently turned out to be a pretty hot recording. You had a lot of traffic on that video, and so it was a lot of good information. So looking forward to today, sir. So how has your week been? And we've definitely missed you, that's for sure.
It's been quite exciting.
Very busy. You've got definitely more than one iron in the fire at all times, it seems like.
Well, this new year has started off with a bang.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It sure has. We're going to hopefully add some gunpowder to this week as well. So, all right. So, like usual, I'll follow you along with some text on screen as we need it. If you need to reflect into the Hebrew, we can do that as well. And we'll go for a ride and see what we can learn from this week's Parsha, which is Vayeira. Last week, excuse me, we just finished yesterday, was Lech Lecha, and so looking forward to see what's coming out of this Parsha.
Okay, so last week we were the theme, as represented by the name, Lech Lecha. God says to Avraham, come to the land that I will show you. In other words, God is reaching out to Avraham. His name is Avram, not yet Avraham. So God reaches out to him. God initiates the relationship. Avram is minding his own business in Ur of Kasdim, and God comes to him and says, I need you. Come with me. So the theme of the whole Parsha is God reaching out to Avram. In Vayeira, we're really talking more about Avram reaching out and developing this form of prophecy called seeing. Could be that Avram was the first seer. So if we take a look at the Parsha, and by the way, it's amazing how just when we think we understand something in the Torah, we discover that there's a whole another layer. It is so much deeper than we ever expected, and it keeps happening over and over because the Torah is endless in its depth. So let's take a look at what happens here in this Parsha.
Okay.
The name of the Parsha is God appeared. God appeared to Avram. And throughout the Parsha, we are describing different forms of seeing or not seeing. So Avram is sitting by the door of his tent. God appears to him. He sees God. But then he looks up and he sees three people approaching. They turn out to be angels. Then the next story, I believe, is where he sends away Hagar and Ishmael, and she's crying in the desert because she's out of water. And God opens her eyes and she sees a stream of water. So again, there's a vision, there's a seeing. Then there's the story of the destruction of Sodom, where the people were punished by blindness. They couldn't see. And then Lot's wife is told not to look back, but she looks, and she turns into a pillar of salt. And then there's the story of the binding of Yitzchak, the Akedah of Yitzchak, where Avraham raised his eyes and saw the place from afar. And then he raised his eyes when he was told not to sacrifice Yitzchak. He raises his eyes and he sees the ram. And he names the place the mountain where God appeared, where God was seen.
What happened with when Hashem changed Avram's name, and he put the, and I may be jumping ahead of myself here and ahead of you. If I am, feel free to slow me down. But what was the biggest change in when he changed his name from Avram to Avraham? Does the letter Hey have such a powerful significance itself, or I mean on a Kabbalistic level? What would be your thoughts on that?
We can spend an hour on that.
Maybe we should later.
But just briefly, the letter Hey is the number 5.
Yes.
Those are the 5 senses. That's touch, taste, smell, sound, hearing, and seeing.
Oh, wow.
So the average human being, no matter how virtuous, and no matter how well-intentioned a person is, he can't help seeing an unholy thing if it's in his line of vision. So the senses are what they are, and you can't really change them, even with great intention. But Avraham had risen to such a level of holiness that he was even in control of his 5 senses. So from now on, he wouldn't even see something unholy, even if it was standing in front of his eyes.
Wow.
And he wouldn't hear anything unholy, even if it was said out loud. So even his 5 senses were divine, purely holy. Which includes the ability to see. So his seeing had become really prophetic and godly. And that was the nature of his prophecy, in that he saw. He was given the vision. There's one exception in the Parsha, where we are told that when the angel gave Avram the blessing that he would have a son, or that Sarah would have a son, the Parsha says, the Torah says, Sarah was in the door of her tent, and she heard the blessing. So Avram sees. Everyone in the Parsha is seeing or not seeing, but Sarah heard. Now that opens up a whole new layer of understanding. Now what happened is this. The angel comes to Avram, and he says, this time next year, Sarah will have a child, will have a son. This time next year, even though it only takes 9 months to have a child, but it's always this time next year in the Torah, because although the physical gestation period is 9 months, a soul coming down into a body actually takes 12 months.
Oh, wow.
Because before conception, the soul is prepared, is acclimated to the idea of going down into the physical world. So it actually does take 12 months in all for a soul to be born. So the angel says, this time next year, as surely as you are alive today, Sarah will have a son. Now Sarah hears this in the door of her tent, and she laughs. And the angel says to Avram, why is Sarah laughing? Is anything impossible for God? Now Avram asks Sarah, why did you laugh? And Sarah says, I didn't laugh. And that's the end of the conversation.
Is that a message to us guys out there? Don't argue with our wives.
It's like, like our conversation that don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Why'd you laugh? I didn't laugh. Yes, you did. Okay, bye.
Oh man, that's funny.
That's where it ends.
Right.
So there's the